IncubatorWarehouse.com presents HatchTalk Podcast. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to HatchTalk. Shawn Bailey.
Patrick Lyle.
We're here talking about chickens. It's incubation season. You can feel it in your bones.
My favorite time of year.
Yeah, we are busy over at Incubator Warehouse. You should be busy too. If you're not getting your prep work done right now, if you haven't plugged in those incubators, whoo.
Tis the season. Tis the season.
Tis the season. You have to get going right now. Don't waste. Well, today's episode, we're going to focus on two things that everybody kind of stresses over while we're in a hatch season. We're talking about thermometers, hygrometers, trust issues. Why one reading can ruin your hatch or your attitude. This is our second part for the February series on incubation. So if you've ever incubated, you've been there before. You're like looking at the incubator, you're looking at the temperature gauge on it, you're looking at the humidity, and you're like, oh man, that's fluctuating, that's different. I have been stressing over my hatch right now. I'm right in the middle of an emu hatch, and I not only do I have, I'm running the IncuView, incubator. I've got the digital display on that showing me the temperature and the humidity. But then again, I'm using supplemental humidity because I'm not a chump, and I don't like pouring water into the tray. So I've got
using the humidikit.
I got the humidikit. And so the humidikit's got its little hydrometer sensor in there, and I'm seeing two different readings. And then I like to dial it in, so I've got our other Incutherm in there too. So what do I trust? I see different readings on all of them. So for a minute before I got some counseling, I was like, okay, I was dialing things back all the time. That's not what you want to do. Right.
No. That was your first encounter with incubator math, and it was one heck of an experience for you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's it's been a problem since I started at Incubator Warehouse in 2017. I noticed the a lot of the customers, a lot of our questions that we get in the inbox would come down to just what to trust, looking at their incubator, like looking at their humidikit readout, looking at their independent thermometer, hygrometer, whichever one they may be using. It can cause a lot of stress, and it can definitely make you question a lot of things. And for some reason, I noticed it's a trend. People always want to blame the incubator. It's always the incubator's fault that things don't read right or things don't match up. And that's really just not always the truth. Your incubator is going to be more, in most cases, I should say, your incubator is going to be more precise and read correctly when it comes down to what readings you should trust. It's just you just got to calm down. Just calm down. Keep it cool. Keep it cool. It's not a big deal. You're going to see variances like we've talked about before. We've talked about variances in the readings and stuff like that. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the things you're going to experience, the different readings you're going to see, how to deal with them, and if applicable, calibration techniques for you as well.
So should you just, if you've got a nice incubator that has, it shows you temperature and it shows the humidity, do you just trust one or do you do a backup?
I always suggest having a backup. Always suggest having a second readout. That way you just have something to reference to.
But that's where I spin out of control because I see two different readings.
Correct. So you're going to want to keep in mind that a thermometer, depending on where it's even at in the incubator, where your sensors are for your humidikit, for your incubator probe, for all those things, those all matter. There's hot and cold pockets inside every incubator, regardless of the size, whether it's a large cabinet or a small tabletop. It's not like the whole thing is a uniform 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit in there. It's not like the whole thing is a uniform 50% humidity. There's going to be spots where it's a little hotter, a little cooler. Generally, humidity stays pretty close throughout the whole unit. That's unless it's a cabinet, it can kind of be hard to keep it stacked throughout the whole thing. But for the most part, everything should be pretty close. And if you're getting different readings, if you're getting, variances of 2 or 3 degrees, that's totally fine. And that's something that we can work with and that we can kind of teach you how to handle. Um, I would say my favorite technique, if I am stressing about something, if my thermometer is reading something, my incubator is reading something, and my humidikit's reading something, and they don't match, first thing I do is I get a handy dandy rubber band and I rubber band all my sensors together right there,
Hmm.
same spot, same area in the incubator, and I guarantee that they're going to be pulling from the most precise area combined together rather than having them spread out throughout the incubator.
Yeah, and that my problem is I see one weird reading, on my humidity, and I'm incubating emu eggs right now, and you're supposed to keep the humidity fairly low on
Mhm.
on those, so it's around 27-28%, um, but then I see like it drift up to like 31. I'm like, oh no, oh no. So I
Yep,
see one
yep,
reading and I start to lose my shit over it. Because I'm emotionally invested now. I've got 3 incubators running now, and I see different readings on all of them for the emu eggs, and I just want to hatch a couple of them. I want
yep.
one successful at least, right? Um, Out of the what is it? I think we got 8 eggs going right now. Jeez. Um, so yeah, it's as a beginner for incubation, to me, I see one reading and I start to panic, but then I gotta take a step back and realize, look, it's gonna read different whether it's just kicked on. Like, what if I seen it when you know, I'm hand turning my emu eggs at home, right? So I see the temperature go up and I see it go back down, and then I see humidity go up, we get back down as I open the incubator, and um, I can trust when I see it, like the the delay on different devices. You can tell, okay, this one's really more dialed in than not. Like my incubator, it takes probably a good 5-10 minutes to get a good reading. I'm looking at it before it's building up and that more accurate. My my humidikit, it's like boom, like it'll sense it, drop it, and then pump it in there really quick. And my Incutherm, I use that one as kind of my baseline. That's what's I've kind of learned. Like I have my baseline and I'm comparing the two. And I know, it's so hard with any kind of electronic thermometer or anything to get a true absolute, like this is the reading, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can dial them in and you can do, different techniques, but and track drift, but I mean, if you're looking at them and just trust one trusted source, I would say that's my biggest tip so far. Is I don't I might do that rubber band trick. That's actually a good idea. But I calibrated and I tested them, but averages is what really matters over time.
Yep.
And
People forget that it's that that the way these things work, it's going to create a roller coaster type effect. It's going to have ups and downs,
yeah,
and you're just looking for that flat line average between the ups and downs. That's really all it comes down to. Don't expect it to hold precisely the whole time. Expect there to be highs and lows, but we want to make sure those highs and lows are contained within a certain parameter. We want to make sure that everything in the end is averaging out to the numbers that you're trying to shoot for. And again, with the temperature, we want to get it as close as possible. But generally, with humidity, you can be off a few percentage points up or down. Um, generally, 5% up and down, not going to hurt a hatch. It's not going to really cause that much of an issue. Temperature, though, you really want your machines to be within 1, maybe 2 degrees max of a variance. Plus minus. The 2 degrees is really pushing it, but it's okay for everything to be reading highs and lows. You need to do yourself a favor if you're in a situation where you're reading those numbers and you're what we call mother henning. you know you're going to want to just take a second, sit down, have a breather, eat a Reese's fast break, and just write down your averages. Or if you're using one of those dang fangled govies, it'll give you your average. But your average, you're looking for the average. It's all that matters. You're not worried about the highs and the lows if they're not extreme. That's the thing to remember, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. As try to have the one you trust, and then and average it out.
Yep.
I mean, even in the wild, if you've got chicks, the hens are gonna be they're gonna hop up for a second when they're brooding. They're not gonna stay there. It's not gonna be a stable environment all the time.
Yep, they will get off the nest from time to time. Same with waterfowl, duck and geese. You know, they're going to get off the nest every now and then, go take a dip in the water. Um, a little side note, side tip for people who are doing waterfowl: it's okay to sporadically, once every few days, spray your eggs down with a little bit of water. Just hit them with the water bottle or the squirt bottle, and just give them a little misting. That's okay, because you know why? That's what happens when they're underneath the mother duck or the mother goose. They're
Oh,
coming back from their little water dip, and they're soaking those eggs. And I've actually found that working with customers and doing my own experience, that works pretty dang well.
right, right. I mean, too, like little dips aren't gonna be a big deal. There's definitely a little bit of wiggle room. Some breeds are more forgiving than others, obviously,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, you just gotta test and see, and realize. I mean, trying to hit 100% hatch rate, that's a lofty goal, as it were. And I mean, there's so many variables when it comes into an incubation. So,
Yep,
I mean,
yep,
aim for a good hatch rate, 80% plus. If you can, you know, get that, that's great. If you get 100%, I mean, you must get everything dialed in, not only just your incubator temperatures and humidity, but also your sourcing of the eggs and how soon you get them in the incubator and how trusted are they. All of that matters.
yep. I think I'm actually dealing with one of those issues right now in my test incubators I've got running behind me. I think I've got a few eggs that maybe have been sitting waiting to go in the incubator a little too long by the time we picked them up. I've noticed some strange, what I call anti-development going on inside of them.
Mm,
And I do know for a fact that this particular flock hatches pretty well, but at the same time, it's not a huge flock. So I think that when we got our eggs, some of them may have been a little out of date. Um, and that's okay. You've got to take a second to realize what you're dealing with. It's all nature. It's something that's unpredictable, and it could be, the issues you experience during your hatch could vary from the chicken itself to the machine you're using to your home environment. There's just so many different things that are going to affect your hatch rate. And like Shawn said, shooting for 80%, that's a pretty good number to shoot for. um I consider an 80% hatch, I consider that pretty dang good, honestly.
yeah, and like I said, it just really depends on the breed that you're breeding and what type of chicken they are, and what type of waterfowl they are. And I have high hopes for this emu hatch. I feel like I'd be lucky enough to honestly get up 50%, because I've never really done emus, and I've had some issues with getting them in a certain window, and not turning properly stuff. And yeah, I got to trust my kids to turn the eggs when I'm not home.
Yeah,
Uh,
emu and ostrich both. They're in my personal opinion probably some of the harder non-breed specific type eggs to hatch, just because of their size and their rarity and everything like that. There are some chicken breeds and a waterfowl breed out there that are big pains in the butt as well. So yeah, that's why for me personally, I love my barnyard mixes. They'll hatch under any condition. I feel like they're soldiers.
yeah, I mean the hatch that I just did, the my silkies. I mean the ones that candled passed. I mean I was like 89%, and my little Seabright Bantams, hatch rate on that was pretty decent. There was like a 95% out of those ones.
Yeah,
So
that's really good, Shawn.
those were great, but
Yeah.
which was surprising because those are tiny chickens, but
Yep.
they did really well. The little eggs.
You know,
So,
I feel like I have better success with the smaller eggs, you know, button quail,
mm,
Cortunix, you know, the bantam eggs, stuff like that. I for some reason feel like they're more forgiving, whatever the case may be.
yeah, maybe there's a little heartier little egg.
Yeah, that works. There we go.
Hearty eggs. Well, what's the biggest advice? I think of the biggest tricks. I would say, um, my wife's a spreadsheet queen, so she likes to keep track of humidity and stuff. She just puts it in her phone. Um, I love, honestly, ChatGPT for this, because all I've been doing lately, especially with this emu hatch, for reassurance on myself, and this is a good hack too. Just get your AI. I use ChatGPT. I take a picture of everything going on with all the readings, and I have a certain thread going down, and I check in on it. Like, how is this doing? Looks great, and it gives me all the reasons why it's a little high, but it's a good. It's different readings. The biggest thing is it gives me a peace of mind. So if you
Right.
haven't done that, you can take a picture right in the ChatGPT app of everything that's going on, and it has been super helpful. So there's a hack for you. What other advice do you have?
Um, you know, one of the things that I like to tell people is just make sure they're giving everything a little bit of time to get acclimated. Don't start stressing out because your readings are off for the first, you know, 12 to 24 hours. This is all stuff that you know, if you refer back to our previous podcast, that you should be doing ahead of time. Let everything get acclimated, settle down. Anytime you open the lid or anytime you do something that's going to affect that internal environment, you just want to give your instruments a second to kind of, or a few, an hour or two even, to just kind of reacclimate to the environment and start giving you solid readings again. You know, it can be like you said, it can kind of cause this chaotic breakdown when you do something or you change something and all of a sudden your readings are off and everything's going wild. Just got to let things acclimate, let them relax, let them come back into the parameters that you're working with. And you know, within an hour or two, if your readings are terribly off or something isn't right, at that point you can start panicking and making some changes. But just, you know, calmer heads, calmer minds will prevail. And with incubation, you just got to be calm. You got to remember your tactics and you got to stick to them.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. Calmer heads prevail, and don't jump the gun too early. What with my first hatch, that's what I did. I don't know, like I didn't know really what I was doing, but I was chasing the humidity bug the whole time. Like I fill up one tray, and then I'd freak out and, oh, it's too high, and then I'd empty it out, and yeah, there's no need to do that.
Nope. Nope. Everything will come back into the parameter that you need it to be. And you know, on a 21-day hatch cycle, 1 day of high humidity really isn't going to be detrimental to that hatch. You know,
Right.
you've got plenty of time for it to level back out.
Exactly. Exactly. And just it's always good, like you're saying, make sure everything's tested. If you notice that things are lagging behind, and that's going to lead into our next podcast. We're going to be talking about common things that go wrong, in your incubator. Um, but if you notice that the temperature gauge is constantly off, that might be a good sign that, hey, it might be a time to look into switching things up, maybe switching some parts out.
Yep.
But don't jump the gun too much. But it does happen. I mean, that's why we sell them. So
Yep. You know, and one thing to keep in mind, and this is something that, you know, um, Shawn brought to my attention, if you will, is that there's a lot of great calibration techniques out there for your thermometers and hygrometers.
mhm,
This day and age, not a lot of them are calibratable. That's something that you got to keep in mind as well. You know, we don't want you going out and trying to calibrate an Incutherm or a Govee by doing the ice water test or putting it in boiling water. A digital hygrometer, you definitely don't want to do the salt check on. You know, you don't want to get it in there. But there are models out there, whether they be analog or digital, that can be calibrated that way. Shawn taught me all about the hygrometer calibration technique. I had no idea that that was something that
yeah,
could
you
even
can
be
do it.
done.
Look for a how-to video coming out
Yep.
soon. That's on the docket. But yeah, you can calibrate, and you can get some decent ones as well. there's also some other things you can provide too. There's if you get into cigar smoking, there's hydrometer strips that you can actually put in that'll give you a visual reading. They're not too expensive. You just put them on there. That'll work as well. That way, if you're gonna get into a danger zone. Um, but yeah, it's
Also, side note, you can get those strips even if you don't get into cigar smoking.
yeah,
You can just get the strips. You don't have to smoke the cigars.
yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Oh yeah, well yeah. If you're not into the
Yeah.
cigars, that's fine. Buy the strips. They're
Yeah.
they're good to throw in your incubator. You can tell exactly how much humidity is going on.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And side note, if the unit you have, if the thermometer or hygrometer you have isn't something that can be calibrated, you can still do some of the tests to get
a baseline.
a baseline
Yeah,
of it, and then you can just simply document like, okay, thermometer one is 0.7 degrees off from the calibration point, and you can just, is kind of a pain in the butt, but you can but you can take that information and just store it in your little brain, or use it when you're doing your calculations for your readout, knowing that this thermometer is 0.7 degrees off. That way you just mentally make those changes, and it's really not the end of the world to
exactly.
have something like that going on. I know it can be frustrating, especially for a customer who buys like one of our Incutherms, for example, and if they turn out to be a little bit off, because we do warranty them as what is it, plus minus 1 degree from the factory or 2 degrees from the factory. But if they're off a little bit more, sometimes all you got to do is just document that, and you're going to be just fine. You're going to know that that's off a little bit. You can take that into consideration when you're doing your averages, and not the end of the world.
Yeah, and then you got to realize, yeah, there's going to be drift between
Hmm.
machines, period. And you can set it like that's great advice. Do a baseline test, and then which degrees are off, and then you can rely on that. Okay, that's dialed in on it. It's 2 degree, 2 meetings off or whatever it is, up or down, whatever it is. But then you know what it is. So you could do that before the hatch season. That's great to give you a baseline understanding. But I mean, if you're wanting to get like a really, really expensive one, I mean, you're talking a lot of money. Like if you want like a scientific one, and those things, like if you're talking about at a science level for incubation, in laboratories, tens of thousands of dollars, and they're temperamental too. So,
Yep. Yep. You bump one of those and you're replacing it. It's done. It's done.
exactly.
It's out of whack for life right there.
Well, so in summary, you know, you're gonna have differences on every piece of your equipment, no matter what it is. Usually, I definitely get multiple readings on both your heat and your humidity, and definitely have a more reliable one that you trust, that you can like do a calibration test against. That way, you know that there's not drift. But keep in mind, take a breath. There's going to be there's going to be a little bit of drift. There's going to be different readings between equipment, and that's okay, because you're
Yep.
not looking to be a constant. It's going to be variables. I know people like to do things by the book, but the book should say in big print, not just fine print, that there it's okay to take the average. That's what you want, is the average.
Yep.
3 to 5% drift average is great.
Yep. Highs and lows are going to come. You're going to see temperature swings. You're going to see humidity swings, spikes and drops. But as long as your average numbers are meeting up to whatever species you're incubating at the time, you're good to go. Don't let one don't let one point in the incubation process ruin the whole thing for you and make you second guess everything.
Right, right. Great, solid advice. Well, Patrick, you know what time it is. It's time to get some clips from around the internet.
Coop it or crap it.
It's time for
My
some Coop It or
favorite.
Crap It.
Is it a useful tip or just clickbait? Is it a chicken hack or is it just crap? Keep it in your coop or flush it like poop. We clip the net, we rate the scoop. Coop it or crap it.
You were tired of grocery shopping, so you went out and
Perfect.
bought some chick this spring. And 5 months later, you're ready for her to start carrying her own weight by giving you fresh butt nuggets. Well, here's 5 tips to make sure everything goes smoothly. At 16 to 18 weeks, you'll want to switch from a grower feed to an actual laying feed. These feeds contain less protein and higher amounts of calcium. Most feeds are scientifically designed for the right amount of calcium for proper eggshell development. But not every breed or feed are the same, so it's still a good idea to have a source of supplemental calcium readily available. Make sure you have enough nesting boxes. A good rule of thumb is 1 nesting box for every 4 birds. And you'll want to make them nice and comfy with these natural aspen nesting pads from Eaton Pet and Pasture. Just like us humans, an egg is around 75% water. So without proper hydration, a hen is going to have a difficult time laying eggs. Keep the fresh water coming. To avoid stress and distractions, it's best to leave them alone in the morning time. These are prime laying hours, so it's best to leave your chores and treats for the afternoon.
Great advice.
Yep.
Great
Great
advice.
delivery.
I love that he. I don't know how he pulled that off. Getting the chicken to lay right in the hand. Switching the feed. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
You know, pump those chickens up, get them ready to start laying.
Yeah, everything he said was pretty straight on. You know, getting off the grower feed, getting onto the layer feed, having the oyster shell grit, or you know, any kind of other calcium supplement you can get out there. Definitely some good advice. I've never used like fancy nesting boxes. I've always just used, you know, just just putting hay or straw in there and let them do their thing on there. But yeah, I mean, this is all pretty straightforward, good information from this guy.
Yeah, he does a good job. Awesome.
Definitely a keep it.
Definitely keep it. All right, from White House on the Hill
I love
on
these
YouTube.
guys.
This guy's great.
So if you recall, about a month ago, we got 6 chicks, and they were supposed to be sexed pullets or females, hens. And so I wanted to give you a little update now that we can start to see some features on them. This one still looks to be a hen. Curved tails, small comb. We're moving them out to our peacock shelter or our outdoor brooder now that they're growing up. This one, sharper pointed tails. A little bit bigger cone. I bet this one's a rooster. Now remember, they sexed them by holding their neck and letting them basically hold down like that, and if their feet, they held their feet up, they were female, and if dropped, they were male. But
kind of spiky tail. I would say almost a male on that one.
Bigger comb. We're thinking female in this one. Not sure on the tail, and small comb.
Smaller comb. Probably another female.
Small comb. Some rounded, some spiky tail. We'll say hen on this one. I don't know about that tail. That looks like a rooster to me.
Half and half.
Turns out to be probably 3 roosters and 3 hens. So I'll be letting our seller know it's not a very effective way of gender identifying or sexing baby chicks.
So yeah, I mean that's always a challenge when you're buying baby chicks. The only, I mean, some people say you can tell by the wing pattern. You can hold them upside down to see if they wiggle. Like, I never have found so far a reliable way to sex a chick.
Yeah, no, and unless it's a sex linked breed that's born with distinctive markings, you know, differentiating the hens from the roos, I don't think any of these techniques really work. I think it's kind of hit and miss. But yeah, unless, like I said, unless they're a sex linked breed, there's not really a good way to guarantee it. And as you can see from this video, he experienced that issue. You know, it's supposed to be 4 hens, 2 roos, and it looks like he has a 3 and 3. So yeah, I don't really believe in any of those what do we want to call them, wives' tales ways of sexing your birds.
Right.
I just don't think that it's reliable enough.
Yeah, I really don't think you can tell. Honestly, the only reliable way is a blood test.
Yep.
That's it. So if you're getting into really expensive chickens, make sure you blood test it.
Yep. Those look like some expensive birds he's got there too.
Oh yeah. Well, coming up next, we have the executive in overalls.
If you brood out a lot of chicks, watch this. To be efficient, we like to use big water containers, but chicks can be vulnerable to drowning in them. So we line the bottom of these containers with rocks. It allows us to fill water containers less, and it gives the chicks a safer way to get water in their first days.
I really like this. Putting the rocks in is definitely going to cut down on a lot of splashing, but depending on the rocks you're putting in there too, you can get some good environmental supplementation for minerals that the chicken might be missing as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I've seen different variations of this technique using marbles, using those little gem rocks you put in aquariums, things like that. Pretty much anything to keep the chick from fully being able to fully submerge themselves into that little water tray, but still give them access to water is going to work. I'm a big fan of like the marbles. I like the little shiny things in there, but yeah, this is definitely some good information. Definitely a good keep it.
That's a keep of the coop for sure. Now we have just one more story farm.
But now, for my secret on how I get my 100% hatch rates. I use a heating pad. Hear me out. Your incubator instructions may be like mine, maybe not, but mine says that the incubator should be kept in a room that is consistently between 74 to 80 degrees and that the temperature should not drop below 72 degrees. I don't know about you, but my house, I mean, we keep it at like 67 degrees in here. So the way that I make sure that my incubator stays nice and cozy, warm, without temperature fluctuations is by placing a heating pad underneath the incubator for the entire incubation and hatching process. Ta-da! Here's my secret.
I think that this is actually, I mean, not a bad idea. We talked about this on our last episode. Um, you're gonna have fluctuation in temperature. Where you put your tabletop incubator is gonna matter a lot. So if it's in a room that is going up and down plus or minus 10 degrees, that can have an impact on the incubator. And if you're gonna keep a steady variable, I don't know if that's a real big success, but it might be a good hack.
Yeah, no, it's I I first of all, I don't believe anybody when they say they get 100% hatch rates consistently. I just don't. I mean, if they are, that's awesome, but I don't know. And secondly, I can see how this would work. As long as it's one that you can set the temperature to hold a certain temperature and do all that stuff, I think that's great. I, for one, just I don't think I could bring myself to use a supplemental heat source with my incubator. But like I said, I'm not trying to crap it right away. I can definitely see how it would be beneficial to some environments for incubation.
Here's where I'd say I would use it. Let's say I want to put my incubator in my garage, and my garage is cold. Garages are cold.
Yep.
That might be enough stable radiant heat to stabilize the incubator. So
Yep.
I might test this hack out. I got heat blankets. We'll see.
Yeah, it would definitely be worth testing out. But like I said, don't take this as this is your hack to get 100% hatch rate. I don't see it yet. Maybe I'm just not a believer yet. Shawn's going to prove me wrong.
All right. All right. Now we have Doubletree Homestead.
Has anybody had a disastrous incubation experience? I was devastated when I first started incubating chicken and quail eggs. The reason why? A terrible lack of knowledge on how the process worked and how to handle the issues that can often arise from hatching eggs. The number one mistake I made when incubating eggs was buying from unreliable sellers. While most of my flock comes from reliable breeders, I didn't start off that way. I tried Etsy and Facebook groups first. One of the ladies I bought from off Facebook sent me eggs in grocery store cartons with pillow stuffing, and they got lost in the mail. Out of 60 eggs, 4 hatched. I was devastated, to say the least. Number 2, a huge mistake many first-time hatchers make is not having their incubator running in time. When you have no knowledge on the nuances of your incubator, you will want to fire it up 24 to 48 hours before you place your eggs in their slots. Number 3, every incubator lies, at least a little. For example, my Nurture Right 360 was always off about 0.5 degrees and at least 10% on humidity. For my Humibator, it was always off an entire degree and about 15% off with the humidity. A monstrous error when we're talking about hatching eggs. When incubating eggs, I highly recommend using the Govee as a second thermometer. You can find it on my Amazon storefront. Number 4, don't be impatient and dump all your water into the slots. When I saw my humidity levels plummeted while I was sleeping, I panicked and tried to drown it in water to send it back up to the right percentage. Well, I sent it right up all right, way too high. Then I panicked and tried to suck some water back out with a straw. I don't recommend doing that. Add warm water a little at a time for the best success. Number 5, as boring as it may seem, read the incubator's instructions. I make it my life's mission to never read instructions, and I pay the price. All my hatching instructions from breeders said to keep the humidity between 65 and 75% humidity. However, when I did that with my Humidity, it would heavily condensate and drown more chicks than I care to remember. I had to keep it at around 55% so that when they hatched, it wouldn't spike over 70%. By doing that, I went from a 25% hatch rate to around 70% with my shipped eggs and about 90% when I hatched from my own flock. Number 5.5. Have realistic expectation. Hatching eggs are a gamble, and I swear if you pick a favorite, it will never hatch. Has anybody had a disastrous incubation?
So I've been there. I've had disastrous incubations, and this is a common thing. I really some good knowledge right there, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, great information. We covered some of this stuff in our previous podcast. Just prep, knowing your equipment, and definitely read those instructions.
And having a reliable source of eggs. Like I fell prey to that too, because I went to 3 different places picking up eggs in December because I wanted to get a hatch going, and one of the person on Facebook, just all of the eggs were dead. So I don't know if they were just too old or what happened, but yeah, a reliable source. If you don't have your own, that's the key. Is get a reliable source. That's a big variable.
Yep, definitely. And whenever you can avoid shipping eggs, try to. If you can get them close to home, try to do that. I understand that's not always the possibility, but that the whole shipping process really does take its toll on the eggs.
For sure. All right, Dr. Eric Berg. This is a good guy to follow, by the way.
People think that you have to feed a chicken grains, but I found they like something else better. Meat.
Before 1950, most chickens consumed fish meal and meat scraps. Then after that, we shifted to mostly grains, which are really high in omega-6. In nature, chickens are not vegans. Chickens are omnivores. They eat plants and animals just like humans, despite what they promote on the egg cartons as vegetarian fed.
So this is true. You don't have to give your chickens chicken feed. They're omnivores. They can eat meat. You can give them meat. They're your little garbage disposal on a lot of things, honestly.
Yep. If you've never seen a chicken go after a mouse or a small snake,
oh yeah,
they are definitely omnivores. They're out there. They can put down and swallow a whole mouse. I've seen it happen. Sometimes I've even fed my chickens chicken. It happens,
Well, I mean, I feed chickens the eggs. Like they'll eat eggs. I'll scramble them up for them.
Yep.
It's good for them. But yeah, I mean, I honestly think it's probably healthier rather than giving them grains all the time. I mean, that's probably why we have such health problems. Why would I do it with my chickens? So
yeah, yep. Throw those leftover table scraps, any kind of leftovers from making dinner or whatever. They'd always go to my chickens.
Hey chicken people, let's do an experiment together. Today's question is, if I incubate older eggs, will they develop and hatch? So these eggs here were all 3 weeks old by the time we put them into our incubator, and we're gonna candle today for the very first time at day 11 out of 21. So let's candle to see what started to develop. Okay, this egg looks really good. So does that one. Okay, that one's not good. Okay, so really.
Pause it for a second. And that's why you buy Incubator. Do you see how fast that was to candle all those eggs?
Oh yeah, she flew through those.
I had to just jump in there on that.
The exciting results, only 7 of the eggs that we incubated are not developing. So that leaves 85% of the eggs that were 3 weeks old by the time they were incubated are developing properly. So now it's time to head back to our incubator where we're gonna put all these eggs back in. They'll stay there for another week, and then at day 18, we'll take the eggs back out, candle them again to make sure everything is developing like it should, and then it'll be a really exciting day. We're gonna load them into our hatcher to get ready for hatch day. Okay, it's the day we've all been waiting for. It's finally day 18 out of 21, and we just finished candling everything, and everything is looking great. All of the eggs are developing properly. Nothing has showed signs that it stopped developing. So now the fun part, we're gonna start loading everything into our hatching tray.
Super nice industrial setup they have going on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we'll check back in 3 days on day 21 to see how everyone hatched. It's hatch day, so it's finally day 21. So let's see how everyone did. It looks like there's a lot of babies in here. We have a few chicks who have recently hatched, so they're still pretty damp. But most of the eggs, it looks like, have hatched fully on their own with no assistance. We have a few eggs here who have pipped. So they've started to hatch, but they haven't quite finished. This guy's almost there. And then there's a few eggs on this side that don't have any pips yet. But we're gonna let them hang out in the hatcher for a little bit longer to see if there's any movement or any progress. So back to our initial question, can I incubate older eggs? Will they develop? Will they hatch? The answer is yes. Obviously, you can still have a decent hatch rate by incubating older eggs. Most of us know or have been told that you want to incubate the freshest eggs possible. And while that may give you better results, don't be afraid to set those slightly older eggs into your incubator because, as you can see, you can still have great results.
Wow, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. Very impressive.
I mean, 3 weeks old, that's not bad. I mean, that was over 85%.
Yeah,
But
I would have never have thought to try to hatch something that was 3 weeks old, honestly.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, what's not, I mean, they do have really good equipment.
Yeah, and I've seen some Green Fire Farm stuff before in the past. They also have very, very nice breeds, very well taken care of, very well curated or cultivated, however you say it. That they're doing everything right on their end, and this is the advantage, is being able to do these older eggs and still have this high success rate.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, if you dial other stuff in, maybe the aged egg doesn't have to be so bad. So give it a shot.
Very
People
impressive. Yeah.
make sure everything's up and running and they're doing everything right. Now, the Sunshine Meadows.
All right, guys. It's a kind of an urgent update. I'm really going to update you on these incubators and
Crikey.
how they work. And I've just got a couple of really, really, really handy hints. If you find one of these in your house, in your building, anywhere on your farm, it's really important that you destroy it immediately. Immediately. Now, folks, the reason I'm telling you this, and it's quite a really important hack, it's going to cause you so much work in the long run. You're going to be building chicken pens and fences and coops and things for days and days and days. You're not going to have time to do the things that you really love. All right, so, and another one is they kind of expand. There's one incubator here, and there's another incubator here, and then I saw on my wife's phone orders for more incubators. We have no more space for chickens. No more space. No more space. I have no more time left. I'm exhausted, folks. So really, really important update. Share this video as far and wide as you can. Save us, men. Save us, men. The hassle of never-ending work.
So this guy is definitely getting a hard lesson in chicken math.
Yeah. He's dealing with the side effects of the addiction to the hobby of breeding chickens. That's definitely some truth there. It's never ending.
Chicken math
Never
is
ending.
real. Chicken math is real.
Yep. Just one more. One more is not going to hurt.
I just gotta get a couple chickens on some fresh eggs. It'll be great.
Yeah.
40 chickens later.
I love it. I feel for him. I feel for him for sure.
Yeah, I've been there, done that, buying the t-shirt for sure.
Here's how we're keeping our ducks from swimming in the water bucket. All the waters I have are too shallow for the ducks to dunk their bills in and really clean out their nares. So that's why we have this bucket of water. In the summer, they have their pool, so it doesn't really matter. But obviously in the winter, that is not the case. So we need something deeper that they can dunk their bills in. However, that also means that they can get in here. So my husband made this handy contraption last night. We got this wire fencing from Ace Hardware. We used it to wrap the garden and just had some left over. So we flipped it. This is typically the bottom, so the little guys can't get into whatever you're doing. And then as it goes up, the holes get bigger. So we just put the big holes on the bottom so everyone can still get their head inside. They can dunk, they can do whatever they need to do, but they can't get in to swim. He drilled some holes in the bucket and put zip ties in there, zip tied the wire fence shut. There's no sharp points on here that'll scratch them, and they can all get in fine. So if you're needing some type of water idea, this one has worked very well in the last 24 hours.
So I like that. That's a great water hack for the ducks from the winter.
Here's how we're keeping our ducks.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. The only downside I could see from that is if somebody tried to fly up to the top and ended up getting in there and getting stuck in the water. But
yeah,
besides that, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you could put another mesh top on it if you want, if you're worried about them hopping in there. But that's a great idea for the ducks. That's definitely gonna help prevent them from getting frostbite for sure. Here you go. Here's some chicken hacks from around the internet. Patrick, anything you want to recap for this episode?
I think the most important thing that I want people to take away from this is to remember that variances are okay, ups and downs within a certain parameter are okay, and you're just looking for a good average. You're one bad day of high humidity or low humidity not going to ruin the hatch. Keep those temperatures tight, but keep them well within the parameter you're working with. And like I said, you're not worried about the ups and downs. You're just looking for that average.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Don't lose your head over humidity and temperature. Just make sure everything is evening out. It'll all come out in the long run. As long as you're, having an even head. If you're overreacting, you're going to cause the problem worse. Honestly, if you're going to be adding more water, taking more water away, you're not going to let things stabilize. It's just going to be more of a headache. Take a breath, relax. You got this. All right. Well, that's it for Hatch Talk. I'm Shawn Bailey.
Patrick Lyle.
And happy hatching, everybody.
See you next time.